Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. Our program is going to begin. Have a great time. Thank you all.
Greetings, my name is Katrina Hassan Hamilton. For 13 years, the interfaith communities of San Diego have hosted this important day of service honoring the late Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. In the past, our interfaith communities, along with local organizations like the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority and community members of all faiths, races, and ages, gathered together in Balboa Park, planting flowers that symbolized our hopes for a better future. Today in 2021, we are faced with a pandemic that is a test of our faith and our resilience. In the spirit of these challenging times, we have actually partnered with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. Little known fact, Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., when he was a youth in 1944, actually chaired the Youth Membership Committee for the Atlanta branch of the NAACP. Today, the NAACP has over 2,200 units and branches, including the San Diego branch under the leadership of Francine Maxwell, and a branch in North County under the leadership of Stacia Austin. Although we are not able to gather together physically, we are hoping that you will enjoy this newfound partnership between our interfaith communities and the NAACP to provide awareness and environmental concerns that affect us all. You're truly in for a treat with Sonia Robinson and John Brooks. Welcome. And in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we must learn somehow to live with each other in peace. What better way to do so than in working towards improving our environment? Thank you. I bid you peace. In Arabic, we say salam, and I pray that you enjoy our program.
Assalamu alaikum and peace be with you all. My name is Taha Hassan and I'm the Imam and Director of the Islamic Center of San Diego. On behalf of the Islamic Center of San Diego and the Muslim community, I would like to join our voice, to join our effort with our brothers and sisters from all over San Diego who belong to different faiths and different denominations coming together on this day, the day we celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Usually we come together physically in person somewhere in Balboa Park and we engage together in a community service. But this year we could not do that, and we know why. Because of this pandemic, COVID-19. So we are doing it in a safe way. Hopefully next year we will come together again in person and do something that will benefit our greater San Diego. I would like to invite each and every one of us always to reflect and ponder on the legacy left behind by Dr. King, especially at this time in our nation. We are in need to reconcile. We are in need to extend our hands to one another. We are in need to always remember that all of us, we have a religious duty to work together for the greater good of our nation. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jason Navarez, Senior Rabbi at Congregation Beth Israel. Among the transformational wisdom, actions, and teachings of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I hear the question, who are we as a nation and who do we want to be as a people? Each year, we're afforded a day to recognize those whose pursuit of justice and freedom paved the road we walk towards redemption. This day of reflection, particularly this year against the backdrop of our country's real-time reckoning with systemic racism, serves as an annual wake-up call to shake ourselves from complacency and affirm our pursuit of justice, not just today, but in our everyday. Dr. King once said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Hateful rhetoric and actions may be plaguing our reality today. I choose to believe it is not our destiny. Our resolve is driven by our moral character and faith can lead us towards the justice we are truly meant to pursue. Dr. King also said, "I've been to the mountaintop." He stirs us with his imagery, and his articulation has always given me the sense that the mountaintop is something beautiful and breathtaking. I would love to see it. Wouldn't you? But in order to get there, it's our sacred mission to bring along all those who want to come and some of those who hesitate. That journey, however, requires us, the collective us, to do the footwork in order to get there. So let's do it together today and every day. Amen.
I am profoundly grateful to be able to share a few thoughts about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a humanitarian of the greatest stature with few equals. When I think of Dr. King, I think of one who was motivated in all actions by love, not by fear. I think of one who was willing to spend all of his social currency, not for himself, but for the benefit of all others. I think of one who was not at all invisible to the poor, and who would not accept the status quo, but who would not be motivated by or teach hate. I think of one who espoused three dimensions of life, being for individuals to improve themselves in their own inner power, regardless of circumstance, to encourage each of us to improve the inner power of others through compassion and service, and to never cease reaching up towards God, not only with our lips, but with how we live our lives. In his last Sunday sermon, Dr. King said, quote, that human progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and persistent work of dedicated individuals who are willing to be co-workers with God, and that the time is always right to do right. So let us today resolve anew to celebrate Dr. King's life through following his example, and come together Monday in a day of work and service as but a small token of our greater commitment to do right.
I am Reverend Trudy Robinson, the lead pastor at the First United Methodist Church of San Diego. I have always been inspired by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his courage, his commitment, his eloquence, his faith. I'm sure everyone thinks of Martin Luther King in that way. And yet this year, his legacy means something different to all of us. We have to recognize that his dream still has yet to be fulfilled. The beloved community still has yet to be formed. It is my hope that as we come together this day to remember his legacy, that we will match his courage and commitment with our own to deeper learning of what it means to form that beloved community, what it means to be anti-racist, and what it means to fight for systemic change so that we might carry on with faith the legacy and the work, the true work of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Where you would be discriminated against much less than you are in the United States. You are, I suspect, a patriotic American citizen, and you probably don't propose to live anywhere but the United States. Now, will you tell me why?
Well, I can only say that the United States is home for me. I was born there, and in spite of its shortcomings, naturally, there are things in the United States that I love and people that I love. I think we have a great tradition ideally. The Democratic Creed is a marvelous one. And my work is simply an attempt to say to America that you have a marvelous ideal and you should live up to it. And so when the students sit down at lunch counters and I have decided to join with them, I felt that we were in reality standing up for the best in the American dream, and certainly the best in the dream of all mankind for peace and brotherhood. So I live there with the feeling that we are moving in the right direction, and with the feeling that this problem can be solved in the United States if enough people give themselves to it, if they devote their lives to breaking down all of the barriers that separate men from men on the basis of race or color.
From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing the words of the old Negro spiritual.
Hi, I'm Sonia Robinson. I am the very first chair of the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee for the NAACP San Diego branch that has existed for over 100 years. I have also chaired the North San Diego County branch in their Environmental and Climate Justice Committee. I'm here to talk about environmental justice and how environmental justice directly addresses racial, social, economic justice, as well as equity. Now, if you guys do not mind, I am going to go ahead and demask myself. I am standing over 10 feet away from the cameraman. My faith gives me hope. And the purpose that I feel like God has given me in helping to address environmental and climate justice also helps fulfill a purpose. And I believe that purpose also gives hope. Hope that we can unite together to make our world better, community and district by district, city by city, and throughout the state. So you ask, how is environmental justice racial and social justice? Well, I would like to share that based on our fundamental rights of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that these should come naturally for all citizens. And specifically right now, the hurting need is for the Black and Brown communities. And the reason is because these communities often lack the quality of air, the quality of water, as well as green space in our communities. And this was by design from a racial injustice perspective. And you look at redlining. District 1 community looks different than District 4 community. District 6 and 7 looks different than Districts 8 and 9. How is this and why is this? Race is the #1 indicator of where toxins are located. As we see in District 4, 8, and 9, our communities of color bear the burden of the results of climate change, the results of environmental justice, but yet has contributed the least. I want to thank you for joining us on our program. We're excited about our tree planting exercise that we're looking forward to plant these trees throughout District 4, 8, and 9, as well as identify areas, even in areas of north of the 8 in Escondido throughout our county. So you ask, how can I help? Everyone can help. Everyone can make a contribution of making our communities a better place to live, a greener place to live, a more environmental, healthy place to live. So I ask you to stick around and you'll get contact information at the end of this program of how you can make your contribution, how you can volunteer, and together I truly believe we can make a difference. So I will now put my mask back on, as I do believe that masks can save lives. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And it is my pleasure to now introduce our elected officials that are represented today that is also willing to do the work from a public policy perspective. We will hear a video by our council member, Vivian Marina, who is in San Diego City District 8. And then we will also hear remarks from our council member, Monica Montgomery, and council member, Sean Elo Rivera. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Councilmember Vivian Moreno, reporting from our cleanup in Barrio Logan. I want to welcome all the participants of the 13th annual San Diego Interfaith Community event honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I'm so sorry I can't join you, but I want to thank all of you for your community involvement. As we honor and recognize all the valuable contributions Dr. King imparted on us, it's important that we continue to honor his legacy by encouraging our family, friends, neighbors, and others to volunteer to improve their community. I also pledge to continue to ensure that our communities have clean and healthy conditions. Everybody should have the opportunity to make informed decisions about the environment in which they live, work, and play. And it is my responsibility as a decision maker to make informed choices in the planning and development of all of our communities. I wish you all the best. And as Dr. Martin Luther King said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now I am very pleased to introduce to a very beloved council member. I also would like to acknowledge that we have another council member, Joe LaCava, that's on. And so they are all part of what I like to call personally the Fab Four that stands up for justice. And so it is my pleasure now to introduce no other than our People's Council member, Monica Montgomery. She grew up in the 4th Council District. She earned a bachelor's degree in political science from Spelman College at HBCU and a Juris Doctor from California Western School of Law. Councilmember Montgomery Depp serves on several committees, including serving as chair of the Committee on Public Safety and Livable Neighborhoods. And she serves on the Committee on Budget and Government Efficiency, and she's also on the Committee on Active Transportation Infrastructure. In addition, Councilmember Monica Montgomery Depp serves on the Board of Directors for San Diego's Community Power, which provides alternative renewable energy sources to San Diego's gas and electric. The council member also served on outside agency appointments, including MTS, San Diego Consortium Policy Board, and the Investment Task Force. Again, I'd like to introduce no other than Councilmember Monica Montgomery Depp. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonia. And I would like to say hello and welcome to everyone that is watching. I'm here to continue on to speak about Dr. King's legacy on civil rights and why it really still matters today. Of course, we know that, but this year, this past year, has really shown us that all the more. So it's important not only in District 4, but in San Diego as a whole. And the basis of civil rights is to ensure the protection and integrity of all people, especially people who have experienced state-supported discrimination and oppression. Though there were many gains that resulted from the passing of the Civil Rights Act, Dr. King knew that our nation needed to do more, to go above and beyond, even at that time. He spoke of the need for the economically just concentration of resources to truly practice what we often refer to today as equity. One instance that comes to mind, there are many that Dr. King spoke about this, but Dr. King warned our nation of this while he spoke about the Presidential Kerner Commission report, a study that investigated the causes of the 1967 race riots in the United States. And it also had recommendations for the future, which some are applicable today. So when he spoke of that, he stated that the report could be described as a physician's warning of approaching death with a prescription for life. We still have to look back, and we still have a responsibility to apply that prescription for life. As we can see what has happened in our nation in the past 2 weeks, really in the last 4 years, but in the past 2 weeks, we can see that we have a lot of work to do. This report also emphasized the reason why a lot of African American people left the South, left their farmland, left their agricultural roots to flee discrimination. And so we also have to remember that when we're in the space of environmental justice, that we are talking about a people, particularly this descendants of slaves that were really close to farmland and still do respect agriculture and have a special relationship in that space. So we cannot, as we talk about all of the different isms that plague our nation, we must continue to fight for environmental justice as a part of all of the other things and types of justice that we fight for. So I thank you all for having me this morning. I thank you for all of your work. I thank you for making this place an inclusive place as Dr. King would have wanted it to be. And I really, this is a happy day, but it's also a solemn day because we do have to think about the sacrifices that he made and so many leaders made and the consequence of that. And they knew the consequences and what they could be, but they still stayed committed to the cause. And so I take that as an example in our lives today as we continue from a policymaking perspective to push for reimagining policing, to push for clean, safe, healthy communities, to push for equity, and to push for economic justice for our people. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Monica Montgomery Stepp. I am definitely encouraged by your words, and I appreciate the work that you do with public policy to make our lives better. Next, I would like to introduce our Councilmember Sean Elo Rivera from the city of San Diego's Council District 9. Sean is a product of a multi-ethnic, multi-religious family. His diversity experiences from an up and down roller coaster ride and in and out of middle class has forever shaped the way Councilmember Elo Rivera sees the world and motivates him to make it better. Previously, Sean led community organizing, policy, and civic engagement work at a nonprofit Mid-City CAM. He's a chair of the city's Environment Committee, vice chair of the city's Land Use and Housing Committee. He also sits on the city's Active Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Economic Development and Intergovernmental Relations Committee. He's a first-generation college student, a graduate of California Western School of Law, a RISE San Diego Urban Leadership Fellow, and previously served on the board of multiple organizations, including the Regional Task Force on the Homeless, Community Housing Works, and the Tarek Kamisa Foundation. It is my pleasure to introduce one of who I call part of our Fab Four of our city justice, city council members of the city of San Diego, Councilmember Sean Elo Rivera. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. That was very kind. I also am a bit embarrassed to be following Councilmember Montgomery's step as I feel like she should probably be the closing act here. But thank you again. Hello, shalom, assalamu alaikum. I really do appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all today. It's truly an honor to be here with you all in memory and honor of Dr. King. This event has additional meaning to me as a person who comes from an interfaith family with a Jewish father, a Catholic mother, and Muslim cousins and Nadia. As has been mentioned, we are here to recognize the legacy of an indelible figure in our country's history. Dr. King is a legend, but as my colleague Ms. Montgomery Stepp mentioned last week and has been pointed out often in recent years, he was not always thought of as such. And so I think in addition to today being an opportunity for us to recognize his service to our country, to the movement, and the legacy through service, it also can serve as an opportunity for reflection for those of us to question where we would be and where we would have been in Dr. King's time. I am honored again to be here in many capacities, but as the chair of the Environment Committee. Dr. King's words and actions helped set in motion the environmental justice movement, as with many other movements that have been a legacy of his work. The inequities that Dr. King fought against in the 60s and the 50s, unfortunately, play themselves out in many, many ways today. And that is because, as we know, racial injustice has been institutionalized in American government for centuries, and it can be seen everywhere from government investments, our criminal justice system, land use policies, environmental regulations, and schools. Generational injustice will require generational transformation of our systems. And the intentionality that will be required will have to be intense and unwavering. Inequities and injustices of this nature were not built overnight, and they will not be undone overnight. The intersection of these issues and racism is well apparent, especially in San Diego, which we should note was once known as the Mississippi of the West. As was noted earlier, racial segregation and redlining separated communities and created vast disparities in the quality of life the communities can enjoy. Central to the mission that I am looking to bring to City Council is the issue of environmental justice. And the reason for that is very, very simple. I believe in opportunity for all. I believe that every person from every neighborhood, regardless of background, should have an opportunity to fulfill their goals and their dreams. That cannot be done in an environment that impacts your health, your mental health, and your overall well-being. There should be no difference in the quality of air that a person can breathe, the water that they can drink, depending upon their race. I want to make note of the very, very important actions being taken, as Sonia mentioned, the planting of trees. What might seem like a simple act is actually a very, very important one here in San Diego. We know that race plays an overwhelming factor in access to green space, to quality of clean air, and the planting of trees in disproportionately low-income communities, which are low income because of the fact that economic injustice was imposed upon Black and brown communities of the past, is unacceptable. And so what may seem like the simple act of planting a tree is actually the opportunity to provide a person and people in neighborhoods with the dignity of breathing clean air, of stepping under the shade of a tree on a hot day. And we know that these needs will grow even greater as climate change impacts our communities. I want to make one commitment to you all before I sign off here, and that is to include very intentionally the most impacted communities in the work of the Environment Committee over the next year. We have put forward a statement in both our budget priority memo and all of our priority memos for the committees that we serve on, that every decision made be made through a racial justice and equity lens. And my commitment to you is to do the same with the Environment Committee, and to do that with the most impacted communities at the table. I was watching and listening to some of Dr. King's speeches last night, and there was one in particular that sat with me as we thought about the interconnectivity of us all, of the importance of the environment and the connection to people. And it was from his 1967 Christmas sermon. And the quote is this: "It really boils down to this, that all life is interrelated. We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Did you ever stop to think that you can't leave for your job in the morning without being dependent on most of the world? This is the way our universe is. Structured that this is its interrelated quality. We aren't going to have peace on earth until we recognize this basic fact of the interrelated structure of all reality." So with that, I ask again that we appreciate the legacy and work of Dr. King, and that we reflect upon what we are doing in this moment to advance his legacy and continue the great work that he did. Sonia, thank you again for the opportunity to be here. I really appreciate the work that you are doing. You all have a great day.
Thank you, council members. We really appreciate your words. My name is John Brooks, and I am your co-host for this event. And I'm also a member of the San Diego Environmental Climate Justice Committee. I would like to introduce to you now some members of our community that are making a difference. Two people that I'm going to introduce now is Muriel King and Diana Darby, who have taken upon themselves to plant trees in their neighborhoods, not only to beautify their neighborhoods, but also to provide life-giving air to the community. In addition, I'm going to show a video that talks about the importance of trees.
Hello, my name is Muriel King. I live in South Bay Terraces, District 4, San Diego. In 2010, a neighborhood friend and I campaigned for a cleanup event, and 44 people participated. Arising from that, we started a beautification project, which has been ongoing for the last 12 years. We planted 300 trees, plus hundreds and hundreds of other plants that complemented the trees. In addition, we worked with Parks and Recreation to get trees planted or landscaped at our community park. The trees that we have had planted were donated by the city of San Diego under their climate action plan. We have truly become stewards of our neighborhood and the environment, and to correct eyesores, combat climate change, and improve walkability, leisure, and health. Our efforts to make our neighborhoods cleaner and more appealing has been remarkable. During that course, we learned that streets lined with trees and other plants make a difference in the quality of our lives.
Search Google Earth for China and you'll see this. But an unedited satellite photo might look more like this. That gray smudge is air pollution, and it's coming from Chinese cars, factories, and power plants. But it's not only here. In cities around the world, air pollution is a big problem. A majority of humans now live in cities, and that number is only going to rise, which means more cars, more factories, and more power plants. As officials explore options for fighting air pollution, there's one tool that's often overlooked: trees. Cities are centers of industry, but the resulting pollution is filling our lungs and making us sick. One major culprit is particulate matter, airborne particles of dust, soot, and smoke that are released when we burn fossil fuels or kicked up during construction and farming. When we inhale them, they can cause asthma, and they can also enter our bloodstream to cause strokes and even death. Experts estimate that outdoor air pollution kills over 3 million people a year. And as cities grow, leaders are funding creative and often expensive solutions for the problem. In London, the mayor spent over £1 million spraying city streets with an adhesive that was supposed to glue pollutants to the road. And in the Netherlands, designers have created a giant air purifier they call the smog-free tower, which is cool, but there's another simpler solution. A new report from the Nature Conservancy shows that planting trees can be a cost-effective way to improve public health, which they do in 2 ways. First, a tree removes particulate matter when polluted air blows through its branches. The particulate matter settles on the leaves, and when it rains, the dust is washed down the gutter so we don't inhale it. Second, trees cool temperatures by providing shade and releasing water through photosynthesis, which cools summer temperatures by about 2 to 4 degrees Fahrenheit. But there is a catch. Trees can only clean and cool the air within a close radius, about 100 feet, so city officials need to be careful where they plant. Officials can maximize pollution reduction by planting trees where population density and air pollution overlap. The Nature Conservancy report uses data from Washington, D.C. to create a map showing where planting trees will have the highest return on investment. And some trees work better than others. Trees with larger, stickier leaves, like maples and elms, are more effective, but they also need to be considered within the larger ecosystem. Compared to DC, many cities around the world have even more to gain from planting trees. This map shows where return on investment is highest for reducing particulate matter. With proper targeting, planting trees can be just as cost effective as other strategies, like converting public transportation to use less diesel fuel. But there is one major limiting factor: water access. What might work in Boston will be less feasible in a city like Doha, Qatar, where water is a scarce resource. And on top of that, many mayors don't yet think of trees as a public health resource. Trees might not look like giant air filters, but that's exactly what they are. And the sooner we start thinking of them that way, the sooner the air we breathe might be cooler and cleaner in cities around the world.
Good day, my name is Diana. I'm a Paradise resident of over 50 years. I have taken initiative here in the area of Parkside and did weed control and some management through myself and a few others. It was overgrown with foliage through connections with some of the people in the neighborhood that are horticulturists, master gardeners, Muriel King, and a few others. Through her help, I was able to manage to get the city to plant. Been here 2 years now, and they have grown immensely. I've pruned them on a monthly basis to keep them in as a canopy type of structure so that people can walk through and have that shade moments. They're here for the beautification of our community. The Hong Kong orchid trees were picked primarily for the horticultural knowledge of Miss Muriel King. And because of her, I had learned many reasons why we pick specific trees. So we have some succulents as far as sticks of fire, some milkweed, and some other natured plants up here that are in between the Hong Kong orchid trees to attract the butterflies. Our community is a very diverse community. We have many people that will participate and have participated. We get beautiful butterflies along here. It's so fascinating when you're out here and there's like abundance of beautiful butterflies, and we maintain it. We keep it clean, weed free. Ken across the street does his partake.
So air pollution, as the one video stated, causes 4.2 million deaths worldwide. And 25% of those deaths that are categorized as heart disease are actually attributed to air pollution, and 24% of stroke are caused by air pollution. In addition, dementia, we have a risk of, air pollution has the risk of increase in dementia by a factor of 2. So trees are very important, and I encourage all of you to plant trees, take care of them, or help others plant trees. There's 2 other people in the community that have taken the initiative to plant gardens, because a healthy body also contributes to a healthy mind and a healthy community. So now we're going to hear from Diane Moss and Adana McCarthy, who have taken the initiative to grow healthy foods in their communities.
Morning, my name is Diane Moss, and we're here at the Mount Hope Community Garden. It is a project of Project New Village, a nonprofit organization working for food justice issues in what we call the Good Food District, or greater southeastern San Diego. So this garden is a place where people can come and grow food collectively, learn how to cook food, grow food, and just work with our neighbors around the issue of food. Our ultimate goal is to have greater access to healthy food in southeastern San Diego. Another project that we do is what we're calling a network of growers. These are people that live in the neighborhood, have backyards or balconies, and they want to grow food to either sell or share in our communities. This is one of the reasons that growing trees in our neighborhood is very important to us. A tree is an investment in the future. You're not going to get any fruit for the first few years, so you're investing. This is one of the reasons that our project is interested in growing trees and getting folks in their backyards to grow trees and contribute to our neighborhood food supply. Not only is it a good thing to do so that we have more food available in times like this with pandemics and empty shelves, but also it is a great combat, if you will, to climate change, keeping these urban settings cooler, right? And we need good soil, and good soil comes from good environmental conditions. So trees are a very important part of what we do here at Project New Village. Everywhere I ever remember living with my parents, my dad had a tree. Both my mom and dad yield from the South. They always had a garden. There were always trees in the backyard. Since I'm really trying to step up in our food movement here local, I plan to plant in my backyard 8 trees this year. I already got the trees picked out. It's something that we all should contribute if we can. So since we find ourselves in the month of January, it's a month where we traditionally think about Dr. Martin Luther King. What I remember most about him is his stance against racism, his stance against poverty, his stance against militarism. I know that he was a person that stood up for right, and what's right now is that we all, citizens, need to contribute to, I want to say, making this a better environmental place to live. We are the biggest contributors, we being human beings, to climate change. We have an opportunity and an obligation to do what we can to make sure we slow it down. And I'm sure that Dr. King would be in favor of this social movement.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adana McCarthy. I'm an Army physician assistant and a doctoral student at the Joint Doctoral Program for Public Health at SDSU and UCSD. I've been gardening for about 15 years, and I think it's essential, critical for communities of color to plant their own food and to understand that connection of where food comes from and how you can eat healthier. We're right now in City Heights. This is a food desert. There's not a lot of grocery stores, but what we did is we started to come together. We had land and we built a garden where there was nothing. We built beds, we put soil in, we taught people about how to compost, we taught people about how to grow things from seed. So understanding how to grow is critical in taking back charge of your own health, taking back charge of your own food source, and knowing that you can always depend on yourself and the seasons of the planet to get what you need to stay healthy. A lot of people don't have a lot of space in their homes to garden. And so it's really a matter of finding that place where you can look and see where the sun shines into your house. Sometimes it's a kitchen windowsill, sometimes it's in your bedroom, but wherever, you can use small to medium-sized pots to grow small produce, especially things like salad greens or kale or collards. You can grow all of those in your house. Anything that is fairly shade tolerant, you can do lots of herbs like chives and mint, all of those in your house in a way that you can produce and make something in your house that is edible, that you knew you grew, that is teaching you the skill about how to manage plant life. And then you just become a better steward of the planet as you get more room and you find more opportunities to community gardens. Community gardens are really the way if you want to grow large amounts of food for yourself.
So I've had the opportunity to grow gardens. I lived in 9 different states. I planted a garden in Montana, North Dakota, and Texas. And there's nothing like that feeling of putting something in the ground and watching it bear fruit and then you eating that fruit. It's really very rewarding. And if any of you would like to participate in some of these community gardens, we'll have information at the end of this broadcast on how you can get involved. Another member of the community, Paul Watson of the Global Action Resource Center and his group over at the Ocean View Growing Grounds are also doing some amazing things with gardening, tree planting, community involvement. So I'm going to play a video of Paul and his group, but then afterwards, if you have any questions for us that you'd like to ask, please feel free to drop them in the comment section, which will be open shortly.
My name is Paul Watson. I am the president and CEO of the Global Action Research Center. We are a social change organization that works really to bring science and technology into the community in a meaningful and respectful and partnership way. One of our signature projects is the one that we have right here, and that's the Ocean View Growing Grounds. We started in partnership with the University of San Diego as a actually community garden. I came up with a survey of vacant lots in the southeast San Diego and a little further. And what we found were there were over 840 vacant lots. And so it started us thinking about whether we could utilize that space for something positive within the community. Now, this particular neighborhood that we're in the Mountain View section of southeast San Diego, is actually a food desert. And which means they had limited access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So we thought this would be a perfect place to really begin to start this project and work with the community. So before we started, we first had to canvass the community to see if they were even interested in doing something like this. And we had a lot of meetings with the community and brought people here to the site, and we walked through the site and they helped us design this. And so we began to work with the university to bring some of the scientists and also a lot of students out into the project to help the community to get this place in order. All of our succulents here were all donated by people in the community that we worked through. We did a lot of different kinds of things aside from just growing also. We did barbecues free for the community. This mural that you see over here was painted by an artist that worked with community, from children and adults that got together and spent the whole day painting that. The major purpose of this, in addition to growing food, is though also building social capital. Well, on certain days, we all come in and everybody works together. We also did our own composting first, and then we ran into an organization called Food to Soil that has an economic development model to theirs. And we said, well, that's perfect. And so we give them space here to run their project as well. And so it creates jobs and things like that for people in the community. But the other thing that was really important, and this really relates to our sense of really justice, and it really connects with our visions as part of the larger vision of civil rights and social justice, is the whole question of climate justice. And a few years ago, I was facilitated 140 climate activists in San Diego to come up with our version of what the Green New Deal should look like in San Diego. And while we came up with a good plan and it was a good action plan, but the observance that I made, out of that 140 activists here in San Diego, a small fraction of them were people of color, and even a smaller percentage were young people. And so we felt that the people of color are kind of being left out of their voices in this piece, and as well as young people. And so that really drove us to say we really needed to do something in this neighborhood that really educated people and gave them clear ways that they could get involved in the climate justice and have their voices added to the table.
My name is T, and I manage the food production here at Ocean View Growing Grounds. My role is to figure out what is best, how to best grow gardens, how to best grow vegetables in this climate, in this local atmosphere, to best hopefully share what I'm learning to the locals, and especially the students who come in for the Climate for Change, or the youth group for the Climate Change Learning Hub. And the whole goal is to co-create and share knowledge and what I'm learning, especially learning from the local. Some of the locals who have been growing here for years definitely have great knowledge to share on how to grow in this environment, and especially gives us good data on what's culturally relevant, what foods are culturally relevant, and what foods they want to see grow, and what foods they want to learn how to grow.
So hi, my name is Raphael. I'm one of the youth outreach and science communication coordinators with the garden. So I do a lot of behind the scenes work with just coordinating our various interns, volunteers, and also the youth groups that we work with. And along with that, my background is in environmental science. So I do some of the advising, although one of our big core values here is that we don't believe that the university has a monopoly on scientific knowledge. So of course, as much as I have a formal background in environmental science, we're also still sensitive to the knowledge that the community holds and respecting that they have information, they have knowledge about growing, knowledge about environmentalism and sustainability that things that the university might not be thinking of.
So my name is Christine. I'm one of the student interns here at the Global ARC. I'm currently a student at UC San Diego studying global health and climate change. And so my academic interests and my professional passions align really well with the mission of the Global ARC in creating healthy, happy communities.
Hi, my name is Marina Castello. I am Ocean View Growing Grounds manager. I am in charge of this beautiful place. I got involved here 5 years ago. I used to live in this community for 16 years, and when I find that this place was growing food, growing fruit trees, and it was changing a lot, it made me feel that I want to be part of this because it's a nice transformation and something that you want to enjoy, come and sit and stay relaxed doing something beautiful with this garden.
We have stations here, and in each of these stations is going to demonstrate a particular nature-based climate solution. And nature-based climate solutions are things that everyday residents can do to contribute towards climate change and climate justice. And so we want to be able to not only talk about that, but demonstrate that and give people a practical opportunity to practice it here so that they can actually do that in their own home. And it's simple things like planting more trees, like doing gardening, like rainwater harvesting, composting your waste. So it's really basic things that everybody can do and make a small contribution to try to save our planet.
Everyday people doing extraordinary things. So, do we have any questions, Eileen?
I've just opened the chat and we'll give it just a moment so anyone that wants to drop in a question can do so. Thank you.
Really appreciate you all being here with us today. And as I mentioned before, at the end of the broadcast, we'll have information on how you can get involved with these communities. And is that a question I see?
Yes, Amy was asking about the list of projects. So Amy, what I'll do is I'll let everyone know here on the call together. We are, as you know, recording today's program. There were a number of people that registered that couldn't be on live with us. So we're going to be exporting the video and posting it online for anyone to view. We're going to email out that link to this group along with the PDF of all of the sources. That's going to come out tomorrow. So tomorrow you'll get an email from me with the link to this presentation along with the resource sheet. And we are going to encourage everyone to share that with family or friends and anyone else that would like to see that. And I do see, John, a couple more questions coming through about citywide composting programs and other local efforts. I'll let you address those.
Right. I would concur with the citywide composting. Composting is one of the most important things we can do. Our landfills are at capacity. There's many things in the landfill that shouldn't be there. Vegetable waste can be composted in your backyard, through the city, through either just using worms or actually just having the plant material decompose over time, and then you can use that in your garden or donate it to someone who has a garden. So I concur with that. What was the other question?
So there's a specific question here and another one about, we'll do the gardens question first. So this was about the garden projects that we viewed today. Are they affiliated with larger community gardens throughout San Diego? Are they independent? Is there a network of these garden projects?
So they are independent, but there is a loose network. They know of each other. And if you're interested in joining one in your area, we can totally connect you with that. Or if you're interested in participating in the two that you saw, or the 3 that you saw, we can connect you with them as well. They're always looking for volunteers. They're always doing workshops, and they can help you, as Adana said, set up a garden in your own house on your windowsill.
So for those that are setting up their own gardens, we have a question here from Laura. She says she supports food gardens in Mira Mesa, their library, their elementary school. What are the most recommended crops to support families, especially with San Diego's climate in mind?
So crops are I can't think of the word I'm looking for, contingent upon the area you live in and the amount of sun you have, the seasons, and that. San Diego, we're fortunate that we can grow most things here. As Adana mentioned, kale, certain lettuce you can grow. We planted basil and harvested that. Depending on the amount of sun and soil you have, corn could be grown. It depends. That's sort of a tricky question. It's what are you interested in growing, and we can tell you if it can be done.
And just so you all know, in that resource sheet, there's also going to be some links and phone numbers to local nurseries and garden centers that can also help answer some of these questions that are more neighborhood dependent. One question here was about learning how to do some of these techniques. Are there any videos that we could recommend, YouTube clips about teaching people how to compost? And I know that there are, and if we have not already, we will also add that into the resource sheet as well. We just so you all know, I don't want to drop individual links in the chat because then you won't be able to access them after the event. So that's why we're going to collect some of these questions so that way the info sheet will be the most put together for everyone after the event. Now, there's also a question here about citywide composting pickup. And I don't know, maybe John or Sonia have information on that.
I don't know anything about that. There's not in my neighborhood. We have recycling pickup, but not composting. I know some neighborhoods do. I don't know which ones they are.
Yeah, me as well. This is something we probably can follow up with our contacts, with our cities on that. And just also, we just want to just really quick say that this is our kickoff for some tree planting, as we mentioned in the beginning, and you will have an opportunity to support this effort either through donating your time or donating once the pandemic, of course, clears up, or donating financially to purchase some trees for our communities. Thank you.
So, sorry, I want to show one more video, and then please feel free to message me or Eileen, and we'll get all your questions answered and hopefully get you involved in some of these programs. Okay.
Yes, I do see some more questions coming through. So yeah, please do keep submitting those. I am going to close it for public chat at the moment, as we do have a couple more segments to share, but any other questions you can send them on, and John and Sonia and our committee will also be receiving them after the event. Thank you.
My name is Paul Watson. I am the president.
Hi, my name is Patricia Murray. I'm a resident of Broadway Heights. We have a family, the Anderson family. We have Henry, Dee, and Danielle. We are here at the Martin Luther King Promenade. This was dedicated to our community 2 years ago. And it's for our local family and any visitors come by. We are here today to learn more about Dr. King, and Henry's going to share what he's learned.
Hi, I'm Henry Anderson, and one thing I know about Dr. Martin Luther King was he was an African-American civil rights activist. My name is Daniel Anderson, and what I know about Martin Luther King is that he was a minister.
We're here about putting trees back into our community. Trees give life, and that's what Dr. King was all about, giving life in every walks of life. So we invite everyone to come down. It's called Martin Luther King Jr. Way, and come visit our site.
Sorry, I wanted to make sure that we saw that video. I had the opportunity to go over to that area the other day, and it's amazing. They took a small strip of land and kept the dream alive. So I encourage all of you to go take a look at that. Sonia, in the few minutes we have left, would you like to introduce someone who can get people connected in the trees?
Yes, thank you, John, for asking that question. So this is, again, our kickoff and wanting to make sure that we do some urban greenery in our communities with a focus on city districts 4, 8, and 9. And I'd like to introduce Ann Figge. And if Ann can provide us some words and some information on what she's doing in helping to donate these trees to our communities. Ann Figge? Okay, well, she may have had some technical difficulties right now, John. So I think in the spirit with her trying to sign back on, we can just make sure that her contact information. Oh, there she is. Hi, Ann.
Okay. Yeah. Step under the shade of a tree on a hot day, as Councilmember Elo Rivera said. Wow. I'm delighted to make you an offer of growing more shade and trees together. Thank you for the amazing testimonials today for the benefits of trees and what happens when we work together to make a difference. All San Diegans deserve healthy neighborhoods, and yet decades of national and local actions have given us neighborhoods that lack trees and parks and have more pavement and summer heat. I'm an urban forester, an environmental activist, and a Girl Scout who keeps trying to make the world a better place. I'm also a co-founder of Kate Sessions' Commitment, along with Muriel King and many others. We're a community-centered movement inspired by Kate Sessions, who planted 100 trees each year in Balboa Park in the early 1900s in exchange for land for her nursery. Now the Kate Sessions Commitment focuses on planting 100 trees in various communities each year in this decade. So we're ready to partner with Faith and other community organizations, including all of you, with the expertise to get and grow trees. 10 trees are ready to be planted, donated by the San Diego Regional Urban Forest Council. We invite your house of worship to step outside and locate places to plant 5 or 10 trees on your property. Ask for these trees by sending an email to me, and we'll put that information in the resource guide, or contact me through Sonia. You can also donate money to offer more trees to be planted in underserved neighborhoods for someone who wants to grow a tree that can't afford it. And we'll give you the website to donate and how to write indicating that that's your dedication. So we're looking forward to getting and growing trees, and we'll work together with the community energy and the belief and the hope that planting and growing a tree provides. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. We really appreciate that. And thank you all for participating in today's broadcast. I'd like to thank a few people, the committee, Leslie Golem, Pooja Barta, Eileen Tartaro, and Sonia Robinson. I'd like to thank our council members for showing up and presenting, and our presenters, Muriel King, Diane Darby, Diane Moss, Donna McCarthy, Paul Watson, and Patricia Murray. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Eileen, and we're going to say goodbye to you. Thank you.
This has been such a joy helping put this event together with our community and our ecumenical partners and our work with John and Sonia and everyone else involved. Now, for those of you that are usually with us at the end of the day after cleaning up Balboa Park and doing litter abatement and planting trees, you know there's that long line for hot dogs, and I saw Bob Beadle on the car. He's usually there hooking us up with those. And we usually have Bayou Brothers or a band playing us out. So we are fortunate enough today to also kind of go out on a high note and get our energy going for today. So I'm going to be playing one last video for everyone that's going to feature Patricia Murray and Ernestine with their Broadway Heights group. So we're going to get that queued up. It's Everybody Line Dance is their crew, and you'll be able to check them out. And again, we are so thankful for everyone to be here, and you will be getting information tomorrow, and you'll be able to act on everything. But I did drop that one call to action to katestrees.org. That's in the chat. Anyone that wants to donate a tree through their organization, note MLK 2021 in the comments. This is more than a one-day, one Zoom event. We're going to be tagging and collecting all of that information, and you'll be getting another email maybe in 3 weeks from now to check in how many trees have been planted, where are they going, how many donations were received. We're going to be doing some photos, maybe even a tree planting contest. So there is a lot on the horizon. This really is a larger scale, not just a one-time thing. So we do encourage you to get involved. Thank you all so much. And John, we'll roll that footage. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Well, now let me put to you a last question.